everybody, welcome back, and today we are going to be talking about eyeshadow palettes. You guys know my favorite thing, but this is going to be another 5 products video, and these are going to be the 5 eyeshadow palettes that just scream fall to me whenever I look at them. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first one that I want to talk about that I just did a review on, I'll link that down below, is the Master Palette by Mario from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is a beautiful palette. Absolutely love it. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it forever because I did a whole review on it, but again, stunning. I think it's going to be very flattering on a wide variety of skin tones, of ages, of skin textures. It's just beautiful. I'm actually wearing it on my eyes today. I love this palette. I think it's stellar. It is limited edition, so I was kind of hesitant to include it in this video, but I wanted to share it with you guys because I'm so impressed with this palette and I really, really love it. Keeping in the whole Anastasia theme, let's talk about this baby. Everybody loves this palette. There's a reason for it. It's stunningly beautiful. This is the Modern Renaissance palette, and I just threw the brush. Absolutely gorgeous palette. This is more of a traditional fall palette, or what a lot of people think about when they think of this type of year, because you have the beautiful berries, the reds, the pinks, the oranges, and then you've got the pops of gold. I don't think you can go wrong with this palette, especially with what I'm seeing from her quality, including this palette. If you love these warm tone eyeshadows, I know some people don't really like the pinky eyeshadows, but if you're like me and you love them, this is such a great palette, and I think it is so versatile because you can go for something really extreme using something like Love Letter or Venetian Red. You can go with something a little bit more toned down if you're going to go with Red Ochre, Cypress Umber. You know, you could go super orange with Realgar. I mean, it's just beautiful. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous palette, and it's one of those palettes that I think is very complete. You have a satin matte. This isn't completely matte. I would call it a satin matte highlight shade. You have some beautiful matte, kind of cooler and warmer transition shades. You have some deep dark crease shades, and then you have some just great matte pops of color along with just some beautiful shimmers. So I think this is an absolutely stunning palette, and not only is it a stunning palette, where my one gripe with this one is you didn't have a highlight shade in here. I think this is a complete palette. So again, another just beautiful, stunning palette. I think this one's $42, and you get 2 more shades than you did in the Master Palette by Mario, so can't go wrong with either one of these. The next palette I want to talk about, I also spoke about in my review on the Master Palette by Mario, and that's because I just found them to be very similar in the types of looks you're going to get, which are these beautiful blown out, smoky, soft looks. And that is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. Now, I spoke about this palette in my Perfect Palette tag, the original one, where the one that I don't necessarily regret it, but I wouldn't purchase again. And the more I use this, the more I kind of want to take that back, because I think with me, I looked at this palette and I was trying to create really structured looks, cut creases, that kind of thing, when really what this palette is and what it does beautifully, again, is create these soft, smoky, blown out looks. That is this palette's wheelhouse. And if you like those types of looks, something like this where it's going to be soft and gentle and smoky but not deep, dark, and dramatic, you can do a smoky eye and have it be very wearable and everyday appropriate. You are gonna love this palette. The texture of the mattes in here is absolutely stunning. Plus you just have some gorgeous shades. I mean, it's all matte. So it's all matte, and then you do get this transforming pearl, which I just use kind of as an inner corner or brow bone highlight. But the mattes in here are gorgeous. You get some warm tones, you get some cool tones, you get everything from the, you know, the very lightest Sheer Joy and Love to these mid tones. I love Sunset, I love All Heart, I love Soulful. Java is one of my favorite deep dark shades in this color. I mean, in this palette, and then Noir is just a great black. I mean, this is really, I think I'm starting to appreciate this palette for what it is now that I've found a beautiful use for it. And these warm shades in here, I mean, it just screams fall to me. I love it. I think this is a great, great fall palette. So if you have this palette in your collection, bust it out and use it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, the next palette I want to talk about is this one right here. This is the Lorac Unzipped. I think this is an absolutely Stunning palette. It's a lot of people's favorites, and that's because it is so good. This is also those kind of warm, bronzy, rosy tones, but it's got a much different vibe than the Modern Renaissance, where this one is very vivid. This one is much more subdued. It does have a different feel to the shadows. It's a different formulation than the actual Lorac Pro palette. So if you don't like the Anastasia palettes or the Lorac Pros because they are so soft, this is going to be something that's a lot easier to use, I think, in that regard, because they are slightly less pigmented. Don't get me wrong, you still get beautiful color payout with them, but they're not going to be so powdery and soft and overwhelming, which with all of the palettes that I've mentioned, including the cosmetics one, the Lorac, the Pro Formula, the Anastasia ones, those are extremely pigmented and kind of like boom in your face pigmented, whereas this is something a little bit more subtle, a little bit more subdued, and a little bit more sophisticated. Not that those other palettes aren't, but just I think it's going to appeal to a wider age group of individuals. Again, it's those type of shimmers that are beautiful on any eye texture, any skin tone. It's just a beautiful palette. I absolutely love this palette. I think it's just stunning. So if this one is just a little too crazy over the top for you, and this one is just a little overwhelming as far as the color selection, this one is going to be great. It's perfect. It's middle of the road. Everything goes together. It's a very well thought out, complete palette. Again, you've got a matte highlight shade, some deep dark matte shades, some transition shades, and then these beautiful array of shimmer shades. I absolutely love the Lorac the Lorac Unzipped. I don't think you can go wrong with this palette. And then the last palette I want to talk about is actually from the drugstore, and that is the Comfort Zone palette from Wet n Wild. Guys, this is a cult favorite, but there is a reason mine is so well loved. It is all kinds of janky, but I love this palette. It is so good. And I love this palette because it screams fall to me. Fall doesn't have to be about the reds and the golds and the oranges. It can be about these warm, subdued, subtle greens and blues and browns, and I think that is just as much fall as the other ones. Now again, this is not a complete palette. You're gonna have to bring in some shades in here because these are all shimmery, but I don't even care because it's $5 and it is so good. I mean, this brown is stunning. I barely touched my finger in it. Like, here, I'm gonna just touch my finger. Like, that's ridiculous. This green is beautiful. This duochrome right here is what made me the duochrome addict that I am today. This duochrome was duochrome before it was cool to be a duochrome. This is the hipster of duochromes. I love this palette. I think it's so good. I think it is a beautiful addition to anybody's collection. And it's just, I mean, it's just stunning quality. I mean, it just doesn't get better than that. I mean, that can compete with any high-end eyeshadows that I have. It's so good. I absolutely love this palette. I think you just can't go wrong with it. So if you love the idea of these warm, cozy, soft fall looks, but you don't like those orangey, pinky tones, or they aren't flattering to your skin, go with this. It's so good and you will not be disappointed. There you go. All right, guys, so those are the eyeshadow palettes that I just love in the fall time. I look at them and I'm just like, okay, it's time to open up the windows, bundle up in a sweater on the couch, and read a good book, because that is just my favorite part of fall. But I hope this was helpful for you guys. You guys know I love talking about eyeshadow palettes, but let me know what your fall favorites are down below. I always love to hear what you guys are thinking. But as always, have an amazing day, have a rockin' week, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.